Okay, hi everybody and welcome to today's event. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com and I am very happy to have with us two members of the team from KingswaySoft today. Jessica Petta and Daniel Kai are here, and the session is all about data integration for Dynamics. As we get started, please know that we do want to take your questions, and I know that Jessica and Daniel will be leaving time at the end for that. So please do enter your questions at any point. Look for the Q&A block to the right of the main presentation area. If you don't see it, look up in the very upper right corner for a question mark block, and that'll open up Q&A for you. Yeah, without any further delay, I think we are ready to get things started. I am happy to hand things off to Jessica. Jessica, welcome.
Hi, thanks, Jason. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining our session today as Data Integration Made Easy for Microsoft Dynamics. So to start off today, we will be going over, so today's agenda, we'll be going over some of the challenges that you might be facing with your data integration and migration right now. And then we'll go into a demo and some use cases that you can do using our data integration solution and some tools and strategies you can apply to your data integration as well. So to start off, we are KingswaySoft. We are a leading provider of data integration solutions for Microsoft Dynamics and beyond. We came about by working with large-scale data integration projects and learning how painful it can be to work with data integration. My name is Jessica Petta. I am a Client Services Coordinator here at KingswaySoft. And on the call today, we also have Daniel Kai. He's our Principal Developer. He'll be helping manage any of the questions that you might have throughout the session, as well as through our Q&A period at the end. So some of the challenges that you might be facing with your data integration right now include upgrading and migrating from legacy systems. So you want to make sure when you are changing to a new system, you want to make the biggest challenge is getting that data into the new system. And then when you're in that new system, you want to make sure that you have proper data. So you don't want to move in bad data into the new system. So you want to make sure you have some data integrity and quality all figured out before moving into that new system. And then we have some rapidly evolving data landscapes. So you're constantly adding new systems. The APIs are constantly changing. There's a lot of new changes that are always happening. So you need a system that can be robust enough and flexible enough that it'll help you keep up all of those changes within either your business or the applications themselves. And then along with that, you have a constantly evolving APIs. So this can be a big challenge if you go with a custom-made data integration solution. If you're doing your own custom coding, you're constantly going to be having to redevelop the solution every time the API changes or there's new things added to it. But our solution does keep up with those for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And data integration is not always just about data. So you want to, sometimes you'll have things that happen in one application, they want to trigger something else in a different application. So you can use your data integration strategy for those different types of scenarios as well. And then there's the shift to the cloud. So this is a good thing, but there are some new challenges that come up from the cloud. So a main issue is limited or expensive storage within a cloud application. So you want to have a data integration solution that will help you get the most out of the storage. So you can use you have your application and you can use a different storage solution to store some of that application, so some of those attachments and things like that. They're taking up a lot of space. You can put those somewhere else using a data integration solution. And performance also becomes an issue since you're no longer within your internal network. You have to deal with a lot of networking latencies. So we have solutions or ways to go about limiting those latencies. And then troubleshooting and maintenance. If there are any errors within your data integration solution, you want a solution that's going to help you solve those challenges rather quickly. So we have a lot of error handling mechanisms built into our solutions to help you diagnose those problems. So this is our SSIS Integration Toolkit. That's what we will be presenting today. This is a single solution that will help you overcome a lot of those challenges that we just present that you might be facing, as well as any others that might come about. So we are built on Microsoft SQL Server. We're powered by the SSIS ETL engine. This is Microsoft's answer to large-scale data integration. So you're going to be, ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. And it's a very flexible and scalable platform. Our solutions, which we add on top of SSIS, are incredibly performant, feature-rich, and easy to use. So we want to make sure that we're adding in all of the features that you might find useful within your different data integration scenarios. So you can use our solution to integrate. So you can integrate Microsoft Dynamics with any other application or database system using our solution. And you can automate that. So you can have that scheduled as an ongoing basis. And you can use our solution for analytical purposes. So if you want to do any offline reporting outside of Dynamics, you can use our solution to retrieve that data and into your either your BI tool. And you can also use our solution for replicating. So you can retrieve data from Dynamics and put it into another database or data warehouse to archive it on a different system. So this is a general overview of what is actually included in the SSIS Integration Toolkit. So today we're going to be focusing more on the 365 solution. So we'll be showing different components from within 365. This is going to help you work with AX, CRM, and NAV. We also have the other dynamics as well. And then we have a bunch of other applications that you can integrate with as well. Today we'll also be showing a little bit of SharePoint and Marketo, but any of those situations you can easily switch like SharePoint into a different cloud storage situation or Marketo into a different marketing software. The general benefits of using our solution is that we're going to offer you codeless integrations. You're going to be able to integrate all of your applications without ever having to write a single line of code. And this makes it an incredibly flexible and easy to use solution. You can, it's a lot drag and drop user interface. There's a lot of drop-down menus. As I mentioned, there's no coding, so it saves you a lot of time. By saving you all that time, it's going to be incredibly cost-effective. You're spending less time on development, and we also have a very simple licensing model. And overall, we're going to be offering you unparalleled performance. We really want to make sure that we're giving you the best possible performance out of our solutions. So we're working from every line of code to get you the best possible solution, and we've also put in a lot of different features within our software to get you the most performance while the job is running. So within the SSIS Integration Toolkit, this is a full suite data integration solution for Microsoft Dynamics that is cost-effective and easy to use. As I mentioned earlier, it takes advantage of Microsoft SQL Server SSIS capabilities to offer you very performant and scalable data integration. It handles all the intricate details of working with Microsoft Dynamics, and you can use our solution with virtually any other application or database system. So going a little bit more into what is included in our solution for Microsoft Dynamics specifically. So we have our 365 toolkit, which includes our operations and financials, customer engagement, and financials. So this relates to the legacy versions of AX, CRM, and NAV. And then we also have separate solutions for GP, Dynamics Marketing, and SL as well. As I mentioned, today we'll be focusing more on the 365 solutions, but anything that we show you can be easily translated into any other Dynamics components or any of our other applications. So I'll go into a little bit more on to how to actually use our solution. So when you're retrieving from Microsoft Dynamics, you're going to connect to your Microsoft Dynamics instance, and then you'll be able to select the actual entities and fields that you want to retrieve from. So I'm actually going to just show you what that looks like in our development tools. So over here, this is what SSIS looks like. I am in SQL Server Data Tools. I'm already have my package set up, my project set up, and I'm in the data flow. So this will be able to, where I'm actually going to build out, this sample will be a migration. So I have all my connection managers already set up for what I'm going to be showing you today. But I'll just quickly show you. I'll start with the CRM. So I'm connected to an on-premise version of CRM, but we also support online. And you can test your connection to make sure it's all working good before you continue on with your integration. So to start off, I will show you how to retrieve data from Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So you can select your connection manager, which I just showed you. And then for CRM, we have the ability to retrieve based on entity, fetch XML, entity changes, and audit logs. I'll just show entity for now. Fetch XML is what you would use if you needed to do any more advanced filtering. But for this case, we're just going to do a simple entity. So I'm going to retrieve from our account entity in CRM. And then all over on the column side is all the fields that are available from that account entity. And so I could deselect anything I wouldn't need, or I can just leave it all for now. Since I'm just going to be doing a migration, I'm going to leave them all. And then fetch XML, I'll just show you very quickly. It populates with everything you had selected on the columns page. And then I could add in any additional filtering I needed. And then if I want to write that data into Dynamics, I'd do a similar thing. I would connect to the Dynamics that I want to write to, and I'd select the appropriate destination I want to use. And then I would specify how I wanted to write that data in. So I can write to the entity, and then I can do create, update, delete, or upsert for all of our Dynamics destinations, as well as CRM is going to have a few more, which you'll see in a second. So I'm just going, for this case, I'm just going to go to CRM, but you can do CRM to AX or into any other application that we might support. So when writing to CRM, I'm going to select that same connection manager just for today's example. And then, as I mentioned, all of our destinations are going to have create, update, delete, and upsert. And then CRM has some special a few extra special ones that we were able to do based on CRM. So this will allow you to merge records, convert them through the sales process. You can send emails, you can execute a workflow, or you can also bulk delete. But I'll show you upsert for today. So what upsert is going to do, it's going to check if a record already exists. If it does, it will update that record, and if not, it will create a new record. So this is really handy if you're doing ongoing integration between two systems. That way you're not doing any duplicates, as well as new records are able to be added as well. And then I have the option to specify how I want to do my matching. For this case, I'm going to stick with primary key, but I can also do the matching based on duplicate detection, or I can select a field from the columns page, or I can use the CRM alternate key. So over here is where I'm actually going to do all of my mappings. Now you can see everything is already mapped for me. This is because it's a migration and it's doing everything based on the name match. So everything coming from my source system matches exactly what's going into the destination. Otherwise, you would have the drop down and you'd be able to select what it actually maps to. So this is on your source, and this is where it's going to map into my destination. So that's just sort of a basic example of what might happen. So we're going to go through a few different use cases of different situations. So we did cover the migration already, and I can show you an integration, which would be from one system into a different system. And then I'll go through, that's a straight one-to-one, and sometimes you need something going on in the middle. So I'll show you an example of that, as well as some business processes and expanding your storage, which I mentioned earlier. So first off, I'm doing I'm reading from AX server, and I want to write into CRM. So on the AX side, I'm retrieving from the customer entity, and I can select all the columns I would need. For best practices, I would want to deselect anything I'm not going to need in CRM. So you can see after what that will look like. We're going to have a lot of extra fields left over. So in normal cases, I would deselect anything I don't need. On the CRM side, when I'm writing to CRM, I'm going to use upstart again in this case. I'm going to the account entity, so the customer entity in AX is going to map to the CRM account entity. In this case, since I don't have the primary key, which is the account ID, I'm going to manually specify. So I'll show you what that looks like. So over here, when I have manually specified, this key column becomes available, and I can select that I want to do my matching on the name field. Since this is an upstart, I'm going to do this ongoing. I don't want to have to constantly rewrite every field if there hasn't been any changes. So in that case, I can do ignore unchanged fields. So any fields that haven't been changed aren't going to be written to, and that will avoid firing any unnecessary plugins and workflows. I also want to get the most out of my data integration, so I'll have these batch size, and I want to enable multi-threading. So what this is going to do is it's going to write to CRM in parallel. So I'll be sending 16 threads to CRM at one time. So this is going to have a great increase on my performance, so I can write to CRM a lot faster. And this is available in our AX nav as well. If I come across any errors, I want to be able to process those errors. So on default, I'm failing on error, but that's not going to tell me exactly what happened. I want to see what happened and why that error was caused. So I can redirect those rows to an error output. What this is going to do, it's going to add 3 additional columns that I can use to help diagnose what error happened. So I can show you what that looks like. So say I want to write those errors into a flat file. I can do flat file destination, and the red is the error output. And I'll show you those 3 columns that we've added. We've added error code, error column, and error message. This is going to help you diagnose the error that occurred. In our next situation, this is so previously we just went directly from our source to our destination, but sometimes you want something to happen in the middle. This can be a whole different, you can do a lot of different things with this. So it can be something very simple like your source system has first name and last name in different fields, but your target system has only a full name. So you could have a component in the middle that would help you merge those 2 fields into one field. So you could write into your destination. Or we have this situation where we have a duplicate detector. So what this is going to do, so we know that we have duplicates within our source system. We want to clean those duplicates up before writing to our target system. So in this duplicate detection, in this case, we are looking for at the name field and the telephone. So we're looking for duplicates within those 2 fields. So if it finds if it finds 2 companies, then we'll know to handle those matches and not write that duplicate into our target system. There are a few different match types available within our duplicate detector. So you can do exact match and fuzzy matching. And you can also do some specific ones. So address match would do things like avenue would match with av. And first name matches full first names with common nicknames, such as William will match with Bill. And company name match will do things like Inc. will match with Incorporated. The phone number would be things like the brackets and dashes, as well as the US zip code. So I have that configured. I'm just looking for duplicates within the company and the phone. Anything that's found to be unique will just go straight down. And all those duplicates, we're going to do some further processing. So our component actually adds a few additional columns to help us diagnose those duplicates. So it's actually going to rank our duplicates. So in this case, I'm just pulling out the richest rank, and then I'm going to join those back up with my unique rows. So now all of my rows here are unique. And I'm going to write that into, in this case, I'm going to write into Dynamics nav. So as you can see, this is a new destination that I'm showing. It looks pretty similar to how CRM did look. There is actually some different options available, but overall it's doing a very similar thing. We have our different write actions. In this case, I'm using upstart once again. I'm doing my matching on the name field once again. And I have my error handling available as well. So now there's duplicates in my source, but there's no duplicates in my destination. So another situation that might occur is that you have some different business processes that need to happen. So there's a sales order in nav. It needs to have two different things happen in, say, your CRM and your marketing platform. So in this case, I'm going to retrieve those sales orders from nav and write them simultaneously into CRM and Marketo. In this case, I'm doing my matching on the document and in the name number. I'm using upsert once again here as well. And I have ignore unchanged field that's help with performance. I can enable multi-threaded writing to help with performance further. And then we're also writing into our marketing software. In this case, we're going to create a custom activity, based on the information from that sales order. So we're just retrieving that sales order here. And those are the columns that we're retrieving as well. So as I mentioned earlier, a common problem when you shift to the cloud is that you end up with a lot less storage space. And if you need more storage space, you're going to have to pay for that storage space. But application storage space can be pretty expensive. So this is sort of a solution that you can use to take advantage of different storage options. So in this case, for CRM, I'm actually retrieving our attachments. So in this case, I have to use fetch XML because I have a condition to make sure I'm only retrieving documents when I get the attachments. I'm retrieving from the annotation entity. So I have this premium drive column. This is something that's going to add additional columns into the data. So in this case, I need this because CRM has coded the document body. So this is the attachment information. So I need to decode that so that SharePoint can use it. That's all we're doing here is we're just decoding that. And so we just use the document body that's coming from CRM here. And we've decoded it, and we're going to call it an attachment content instead. So when we write over to SharePoint, so we're writing to the document, and we're going to create that attachment. So over here we have the attachment content. As you can see, the document body is still available, but since that is encoded, we're going to use the decoded version, which is the attachment content. Once again, we have multi-threading available here as well. So in this case, we have all our attachments into SharePoint, and then that will help us free up some space in our CRM so that we don't have to keep purchasing additional storage space within Dynamics. So we want to help you get the most out of your data integration performance. So some of the one major thing that we have here is our batch size and multi-threading, which I did show briefly. I will show you some statistics on that in a second. But that is really going to help you get the most data integration performance out of our solution. It's getting that right batch size and multi-threading writing combination going. Some further tips that you can use. So if you're on an Azure, if you're targeting 365 online, you can use an Azure VM to host your data integration solution. This will help get you a lot closer to your Dynamics server instead of going from your hosted server into a 365 environment, online environment. It'll help a lot with the network latency. You always want to minimize the number of fields that you want to write to Dynamics, so you don't want to waste time writing fields that don't actually need to be in the target system. When you're manually specifying on update or upsert, you want to make sure that the matching fields are covered by database indexes. And we have a lot of other tips available on our FAQ page to help you with your performance. There's definitely a lot of different things and tricks you can use on there that you can see. So the performance metrics on multi-threading. So what we did is we had a single thread versus multi-threading. So we did this based on CRM. From CRM, we were writing 100,000 records with a batch size of 100 using the create action, and a total of 5 fields were being written. When we did it with one thread, those 100,000 records took 4,761 seconds. That's 21 records per second. And also note that this was done on a laptop, not on a SQL server, so performance itself is not as great as it will be in a production instance. So when we had the multi-threading, we had 20 threads enabled. So those 100,000 records were written in 425 seconds. That was 235 records per second. So 11 times faster using the multi-threaded writing. And as I mentioned, this was done on a laptop. So it was the performance of the CTO was at pretty much 100% while this was being run. So in your own system, you'll get significantly greater performance than what we actually achieved, but you'll still see that huge difference between a single thread and a multi-thread. And this is just one of our MVPs who is a little bit annoyed because he wanted to go get coffee, but his data integration was already done, so he had no time to get coffee. So the SSIS Integration Toolkit wants to solve all of your data integration challenges within one unified platform. It offers the greatest flexibility, performance, and ease of use when you're integrating Microsoft Dynamics with any other application or database system. Our solution is incredibly scalable. You can use our solution now and into the future as you integrate with different applications as your data grows. Our solution is going to be able to handle all of those changes. There's a lot of flexibility within our solution to help you meet different data integration requirements. It's going to offer great productivity. So one of the great things about building a solution on SQL Server and using SSIS is a lot of developers are already familiar with SSIS. So it does unify your BI tools. Since there's a lot of familiarity there with your developers, they can pick up our solution very quickly, and it is a very flexible and intuitive solution to learn. And overall, we're always focused on performance and getting you the best possible performance out of your data integration solution. This is just to re-highlight all of the different applications that you might need to work with. So we have, as we did focus on, was the 365. We also showed our Marketo and our SharePoint briefly. But you can work with pretty much any other application or database system, including even things that are not listed on here. We also have a solution to help you with that as well. So our 365 solution does support all versions of 365 as well as the legacy versions of CRM, AX, and NAV. So this is everything for CRM from 3.0 to 2016 as well as online. For AX, we have 4.0 to 2012 R3 as well as operations and finance. For NAV, we support 2009 to 2017 as well as the business edition of 365. On the GP side, we have 10.0 to 2016. For SL, we have 2011 to 2015. And for Dynamics, we also support Dynamics Marketing. In order to use our solution, you do require Microsoft SQL Server, but we support all versions of SQL Server that support SSIS. That's 2005 up to 2017. The only caveat with that is that 365 for CRM Online does require 2012 or above. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have a very simple and straightforward licensing model. So we do start off with our free developer's license. So what I showed you today was all done through our free developer's license. I don't actually have a license on my system because you can do all your development without a license. This means you can work on your personal workstation to develop your packages. You only need the license when you're going to deploy to your SQL server. So in this case, you'll have two options. You can go with our perpetual license or a one-year subscription license. So both are exactly the same in terms of functionality, just slightly different pricing models. So the perpetual license is valid for life. There's no other limitations on the number of connections, users, or processors. And it includes one-year maintenance and upgrades. So the maintenance and upgrade over here, this gets you all of your software upgrades for that year. So you can, we do new releases about typically once a quarter. So you'll be able to get all of those new releases each time. And then they'll also get you your technical support from our team. With the subscription version, so this is going to be valid for 1 year. In that term, you'll have your maintenance and upgrade included for the entire period. So that includes all your upgrades and your support. So this is our pricing for a 365 toolkit. This does include CRM, AX, and NAV. If you are a GP, SL, or marketing user, we have the same thing. So you have your free developer's license. You can download that directly from our website. And then for the licensing itself, it is the same model, just slightly different pricing because you don't have much many toolkits included. And then if you require more than one of our solutions, so if you wanted to do 365 and SharePoint or have that duplicate detector, so just one thing I did forget to mention is our duplicate detector is part of an SSIS productivity pack. So there's a lot of tools within there to help developers be more productive. So if you wanted that duplicate detector or anything else within that pack, your most cost-effective option would be to go with our Ultimate Edition. So this is the exact same licensing model that we've had for the previous two slides. We still have our free developer's license. So you can go to our website and download any of our software and begin using it for free. So this allows you to do all of your testing before moving forward with the purchase. And then we just have slightly different pricing on the Ultimate Edition because the Ultimate Edition is going to get you our entire SSIS toolkit of products. So that screen I showed earlier with all the different applications that you integrate with, you would be able to get access to all of those with our Ultimate Edition. So the SSIS Integration Toolkit is really a solution for an evolving landscape. So we are focused on making sure that our solution is constantly keeping up with and supporting all the different evolving applications, databases, and business requirements. So we're constantly adding new support to our toolkits. So we're adding new applications that we support to our solutions. So for an example, we just recently did Team Foundation Server, NetSuite, and Eloqua over the past few months. So we're constantly working to get more solutions to you to help with your data integration. And while we create those new solutions, we're going to keep up with the changes within those applications. So particularly with like for CRM or for 365, it's online. It's being updated quite frequently now, much more frequently than on-premise solutions. So we're always keeping up with those changes within those solutions to make sure that our solutions constantly continuing to work with the new API changes as well as adding new features to our solutions to help with any new changes that might be coming up within the applications to support for new fields or taking advantage of some new changes. So for CRM specifically, things like change tracking, we have support for within our source component. You can retrieve just the changes. So today we covered some of the things that we covered today is cleaning up data. So we use the duplicate detector to help clean up source data before bringing it into the target system. The first thing we showed was migrating from CRM to CRM, but you can use that same principle for moving from a different type of legacy systems into Dynamics itself, or for moving from on-prem to online. You can use our solution to integrate between different Dynamics applications. So you can do bidirectional ongoing integration between the various applications. And you can integrate between cloud and on-prem. So our solution is going to work with on-cloud and on-prem. We don't have any limitations there. So if you have some systems that are hosted internally and some that are on the cloud, you'll still be able to integrate them as if they were all in one altogether. And to maintain data integrity, so that duplicate detector, you can actually have that going on throughout, as well as using that upsert that I did mention through the demo. So upsert is going to create or update based on the criteria that you've set. So by doing that, it helps manage your duplicates a lot. So you don't have to do, if you selected the create action, it would create duplicates in your system, or if you selected just update, you wouldn't get those new records. So using upsert allows you to handle all that together. So now I'll move over to the question period.
All right, thanks, Jessica. And please do enter your questions now if you haven't yet. We do have a few waiting. And let me start bringing those up. So one that came in fairly early on was asking whether you can add linked entities in XML.
Daniel, did you want to handle that?
Yeah. Yes. My name is Daniel. Yes. We the way how our source component works is we support FetchML. The FetchML support is sophisticated enough to handle almost any kind of complex FetchML query that includes join entities, linked or unlinked entities, and plus you can. We also support aggregation or kind of different functionality that FetchML can support.
Okay, the next question here is asking, what do you do with the attachments in CRM after they've been migrated to SharePoint?
If you migrate attachment to the SharePoint already, so you pretty much can remove it from the CRM system to save your storage, because because the attachment really eats up a lot of your storage. And then your attachment will be surfaced in the SharePoint access, and which is embedded in the CRM form. That would be my recommendation.
What version of Visual Studio is needed, and what needs to be installed to use KingswaySoft? Are there any data tools required?
It depends on your SQL Server versions you are running. Basically, we support all SQL Server versions from 2005 until today, 2017. If you're working with the latest or not so even not the greatest SQL Server version, like I say latest, I mean all recent ones, means from SQL Server 2012 or above, you can just use the most recent SQL Server data tools. The most SQL Server data tools support all the all recent versions from 2012 to 2017. So let me backtrack a little bit. So the idea is Microsoft put some investment in the recent release. So you no longer need to use multiple versions of Visual Studio to target a different SQL Server versions. So you use one single unified installation, which currently is on. It can be can be based on Visual Studio 2015 or Visual Studio 2017. and then you have there's a property called a target server version. You can target to a specific SQL Server version just by switching the option. It's one single option to configuration to switch. So the Visual Studio is not a prerequisite. So you can just download SSDT, which comes with the Studio installation, and it comes with a Studio it's a Visual Studio shell, and it's free download from Microsoft website. And then you put our software on top, then you get access to all the functionality we have demonstrated today.
All right. So someone would like to know, are all basic connections like CSV, XML, SQL, etc., included in all license models?
Yeah. So basically, Jessica, maybe you want to cover that because this is just generally 365 versus ultimate edit situation. CSV, let me try to cover a little bit. So the out of box has a CSV support. It's called a flat file source component and the flat file destiny component. That support CSV writing and reading. We do have our own version called a premium flat file source, premium flat file destination. Those two components are actually shipped with a different separate product. It's called SS Productivity Pack. So if you want to have access to Dynamics 365 and then also plus the premium flat file component, then you would go for the ultimate license. It's still a single license, but it covers use of all the SS tools we offer in the whole SS Integration Toolkit product family. It gives you access to almost 150 components, and also any new component that we may add down the pipeline. So yes, so if you just look at using the out-of-box SS component and to interact with the Dynamics 365, then you just need the Dynamics 365 component. But we do see our SS Productivity Pack offer tremendous value in terms of helping you to be a more efficient ETL developer. So then if you can benefit from any of the features that we offer in other SS tool or SS Productivity Pack, then you should upgrade to Ultimate license. And the upgrade can be done even after the time you have acquired a Dynamics 365 license from us. So it can be done anytime.
All right, next question. Besides scheduling, is there any type of file trigger when placed in a folder?
File trigger can be done through SS. There is kind of certain capability in SS to monitor file system to see if a file comes in and then start the action. That is something possible.
All right, the next question, I'm going to try to summarize it here a bit, but it's asking about the ways to increase the efficiency of exporting data from Dynamics 365. You described a multi-thread writing feature for Dynamics 365 destination, but what about exporting data from Dynamics 365 as a source into an external database, like a SQL Server database? Is it possible that would increase efficiency?
I want to get a little bit more understanding about this question, but generally speaking, in my understanding, in generally what we have observed, reading usually is not a bottleneck of your integration, but there might be cases I may not be aware, so I want a little bit of clarification.
Okay.
But if you really use CMS source, you want to, of course, you want to watch for your query to make sure the query is performant. And performant in a way that you may that can probably possibly utilize some database indexes. Database indexes, if your query involves some filtering conditions, the database index is what you need to look into. CM does support adding custom indexes if you need to, and even including CM Online, they support adding custom index if you raise the request. That like adding the custom index, but you have to use some discretion when you do that, because adding index is not always beneficial. It can, when you have too many of the indexes, you could slow down your writing. So that's something you have to take into consideration. If you ever have a performance issue with the source component, feel free to reach out to us, and we can have a look for this particular situation.
Just to expand, when you're writing to a different destination that's not dynamic, there's also an out-of-box capability of the bound data distributor. So you would have you'd have your source going into this, and then you can have duplicates of the destination components, and that will help with your performance when you're writing to, so in that instance, the database table.
All right. So there's another question about trigger possibilities. This person writes, I know SSIS can run on schedule or on demand, without additional code like Jira plugins or Windows services. Are there other trigger possibilities?
Trigger possibility. We have heard of some of our client story. They use still it's a little involve a little bit of coding. They use the plugin to file SS, which is just very expensive in our opinion. But there is a possibility of doing this. Another possible solution is you send a message in the CRM plugin. Using the CRM plugin registration tool, you can set up to push the message to service bus queue. And we have a service bus component that can pick up message from service bus queue and process it. That would be another option to be considered. And using the CRM plugin registration tool to register a services point for the service bus, it does not require any coding whatsoever. Let me just still elaborate a little bit more. But the message getting out of the CRM plugin registration tool, CRM plugin, to the Azure Service Bus, the message is fairly complex. You do have to work with the message in a way that to have the message being processed properly, and also if it comes from database side, if we are talking about the CMS destination, if the action is performed on the database side, you could possibly use CDC. It's called data capture. That's a CDC component. It's the general out-of-box component. That's a transformation. That's CDC as a source. That's kind of data capturing from the SQL Server as a source. It's equivalent in the technology-wise. It's equivalent to a trigger on the database side.
All right, someone would like to know how fully formed is the CRM to operations integration. I assume that means Dynamics CRM to Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations Enterprise. Is anything possible there?
We have a support for both Dynamics 365 CRM and Dynamics 365 for Finance and Operations. In our component terminology-wise, we still call it AX because it's based on AX technology. when we talk to when we communicate with Dynamics 365 finance and operations, we basically use the all data source and the point. Jessica, if you bring up the connection manager, we can show. So we have support for two connection APIs. There's a business connector that's talking to the legacy X installation. And if you use all data, that's what you use for Dynamics 365 and for financial and finance and operations.
Okay, is it possible to use online or Azure-based SSIS?
We are actually, that's a good question, really good question. We are working with the Microsoft team to bring our component to the cloud. Right now, that's SS is an upcoming feature. SS will be offered as a part of Azure Data Factory services, as one of the components to be made available for Azure Data Factory. That is still in the preview situation. We are working very closely with the Microsoft team to bring our solution to the cloud. And it can take we don't have a definite timeline because most of the development would be relying on the infrastructure capability from the cloud side. So our change, we are trying to make change as ready as quickly as possible, but there's a whole infrastructure support on the cloud side. So that's something we are working with the team collaboratively on that.
All right, shifting gears, someone else would like to know if you integrate with third-party Dynamics GP products.
Yes, we have a Dynamics GP solution. Jessica has the connection manager down in the data flow. If you can bring that up, that could be helpful for you to understand how the connection looks like. And also we have this almost very similar approach about we have the source component, we have destiny component.
And I think the question was geared toward third-party products with GP. Is there any connection there?
That depends on what kind of third-party product we are referring to. So as today's world, a lot of application, a lot of third-party application moves to the REST and REST service endpoint. We do have a very sophisticated support for virtually any REST-based service endpoint, including SOAP service endpoint. In our SS product pack, we offer JSON, a whole suite of JSON components. JSON source would be the one that you read from a REST endpoint, and the JSON destination would be the one that you write into a JSON as source endpoint. And we also support all the sophisticated infrastructure, including paging strategy and the batching in the destination component. And also we have a JSON extract and a JSON merge. Similarly, we offer XML source that would be could target a SOAP endpoint or REST endpoint that use XML message, and also just XML destination as well. We support almost any complex JSON structure and also XML structure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And this person, just to clarify, was thinking of dexterity-based third-party products, but I think your answer probably covers that already in terms of the kind of endpoints you'd be looking for, no matter what the development platform. Okay, question about licensing. You said we can do all the testing using a developer's license, but would it run on but does it run on a server? Running in Visual Studio is one thing, setting up an actual integration environment is a bit different.
There isn't much of a difference. I suspect there might be a slight, very minor performance difference. That's not what we're pushing, because when you run from Visual Studio, it's considered to run as debugging time, so a design time run execution. So the process is different from runtime process. The runtime is called DTEXEC.exe. When you use Visual Studio to run interactively, it invokes call to DTS debug host. The debug host is not exactly optimized for runtime, so the DTXE is more optimized. So the performance you see, there would be a subtle, a very minor performance difference, but it's almost negligible because it's probably, we never measured closely, but I think there might be like 1% or maybe less than 1% of performance difference. But yes, there could be. But we didn't put any limitation except we didn't put any limitation to the developer license except you can't really schedule it. That's the only limitation. When you have to schedule it, that's when a commercial license should kick in.
And one more question here related. What recommendations would you give about multiple developers working on the same package? Do you have a recommendation on version control?
That's a very interesting question. Yes. If you're working on the same package, that's could be a little bit challenging because the whole I think the situation has changed, has improved quite a lot since version 2012. Because in the old version of 2000, the old version I was referring to 2008 and earlier. So the XML was less structured than the newer version. So if you have multiple developers working on the same package, it's merging the change. That's a tricky business. I honestly don't know if I have a really good solution. If you can break off the package, that would be my recommendation. Because with the SS 2012 or later, you do have the capability to reuse connection manager across the package now. So breaking up the package makes the development process much easier when you need to merge when the different developer working the same aspect of integration. So that's probably what I would recommend. But if you feel that you can manage the merge efficiently, it might work okay. But it's probably a little bit, there is a certain risk of if you go that path, because version control is really just about how you merge the changes between different developers. That's the biggest challenge. SS packages depend is XML based, so it's kind of text-based package. So as long as you feel comfortable, you can manage the merging of the package. That might be okay, but I honestly don't have too much exposure in working simultaneously on the package. So I would, the safest way is to break off the package into multiple packages. And you can also have the master package that calls the charter package. So it's better manageable than having a huge package. I'm not sure if that was helpful, but that's my best bet.
Yeah, it's a complex question. And we have one more question here, which is just going to get us to the top of the hour. And I want to remind folks, we do have also a very brief survey that will pop up as you leave today, and any feedback you can give is greatly appreciated. But here's that last question. And it's really asking about download speeds using one thread versus 4 threads, that the speed is practically equal. Do you know what a possible reason would be?
Oh, that's a good question. You could do multi-threaded reading, but be careful with that. Is you have to design your reading to you technically you have to partition your data. If you say you want to do you use a single thread to read, and you want to then you don't have to worry partitioning of your data. Partitioning, I'm referring to segregation of the data. And if you use it for a component to read from CM server and you want to run them simultaneously, then you would need to have a way to partition the data. Then you the source component 1 only read like account name start from A to like F, and then the next component start from G to something else. So if you do that, yeah, that example I was given was not a perfect example, but I just given you the idea. You would have to think about how you partition the data. That's the strategy. It's definitely possible, but also you want to make sure your query is optimized for such operation and for the query.
Okay, well that takes us past our final question, so we'll begin wrapping up. Daniel, Jessica, thank you both so much for taking the time today.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, and thank you and everyone in the audience, for all your questions. And we did record today's event. We'll be sharing those details soon as well. With that, we will wrap things up. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.